Hi, I'm Jason Edmonds. Sometimes people ask me, how do you configure a doors.net program with a controller to toggle its state? For example, if I'm a lecturer in an auditorium and I wish to unlock the door so that all my students can come in, and then when I'm finished, lock it again, how do I set the system up to do that? Well, firstly, here are the conditions. You need to have doors.net and you need to have an NXT controller with Mercury firmware. Setting it up is actually fairly straightforward. First thing to do is to create a user, as you've most likely already got, and also give them the appropriate access to the door, just like you normally would. So when they put their code in or they present their card, the door unlocks and then locks again behind them. Once you've done that, it's a simple case of adding some local linkage to change the state of the door. So the first thing to do is to come into our local linkage configuration up the top here and select the controller whereby the door resides that you wish to program. So what we're going to do is create two procedures first of all. The procedures are what happens. So the two procedures will be that we want the front door, in this case the front door to lock or the front door to unlock. So to add a procedure, it's a very simple case of pressing the new procedure button and then entering the name of the procedure. Once you've done that, you can then add an action to that procedure. The action is, what is it going to do? So for the front door lock procedure that I've created here, I've set the action item type to reader mode control. And there's quite a few different types. Reader mode control is the one we want. We're going to set the nominated door that we're going to configure to be in control of this procedure, so the front door inside, and we want to set that reader to lock. The same thing is going to happen for the front door unlock procedure. We create the procedure by pressing the new procedure button and then adding an action to it. So this time I've created exactly the same action. Reader mode control is the type and the same door, but I've set it to unlock. So they're the two procedures that will occur. The next step is to go into our list of card holders and find the people who will be able to toggle the state of the door. So here I'm going to select myself. Once I've selected the particular user, I can go to user groups. And here you'll see that there's 7 different possible assigned user groups that we can use. Now I'm just going to use the first one. I've created this custom user group by clicking on this little button here to the left. So the default one is default user group, and I've created a new one called door control. So we create the user group, and in this case I'm just going to assign it to index number 1 and leave it as is. Any changes that you make, of course, just press save up the top when you're done. So the next step is in our local linkage again. We need to create triggers that will activate the procedures. So under the triggers tab, we're going to create 2 different types of triggers. One that will detect the door to be locked and one that will detect the door to be unlocked. Here I've created the front inside access granted lock trigger. So that's just a generic name, you can call it whatever you like. The most important thing here is that it's going to execute a particular procedure. So we want it to lock the front door, which is the procedure that we created before. Leave the procedure command as is and set the source type to access control reader. Over on the right hand side here, set the type to be formatted card. Set this user group to be the user group that you created earlier. As you can see, there's a few options there. and the index to be index 1. Make sure you flag access granted, reader unlocked. Now the door that will trigger this particular event is what we're going to set here in the source. In this case, I'll set the front door inside to trigger the event of locking, and set a schedule that this particular event can occur during. So this can happen any time of the day by selecting always. So once you've done that, just save any changes you've made and then create the second trigger, which is the trigger to unlock. Now I've given it a name here, you can call it whatever you like, but I've called it front inside access granted unlock. I call it access granted because it's an access granted event that's actually going to trigger this procedure. So the slightly different configuration here, what we're going to do is set the procedure to unlock, which is one we created earlier over in the procedures. Set the access control reader type for source type. However, where before we selected access granted and we had a slightly different type here, before we had a formatted card, this time we're going to use the formatted card with cardholder ID. And then under the more transactions tab, we're going to just have access granted. Leave the index as 1 and select the reader that's going to trigger this event. Finally, set the always time zone because we want it to happen at any particular time. So once you've done that, you're basically finished. You can go ahead and save any changes that you've made. And from now on, under your card holders, any particular user of this system that you want to be able to toggle that door just needs to have this door control user group assigned to them under the user groups tab. I hope that's been helpful, and thanks for watching.